All right. Good afternoon and good morning to our West Coasters. Welcome to week two of number of many for EDA of informational webinars on our American Rescue Plan programming here at EDA. Today's webinar will be a deeper dive into the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, one of six unique programs we're offering through this effort. Before we get started, I'd like to address a couple quick points of logistics. As I briefly mentioned, this webinar is designed to complement the Build Back Better Regional Challenge NOFO, or Notice of Funding Opportunity. I think that's important to recognize because given the volume of information and the level of detail in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, it is really hard for us to cover every little piece of information or every technicality. So I'd like to start off by saying this is meant to complement that document, which can serve as your North Star in pursuing this program or participating in this program, but it should not eliminate the need by any means to participate. You really, this is a conversation starter in this webinar. We will be distributing resources on our website, not only today, but throughout the coming weeks as materials and information is updated. Third point, please use the Q&A box and not the chat box to input any questions. We will try to get to those in real time as relevant, and we'll close today with a questions and answers session. Last, but maybe most importantly, frequently asked questions will be posted on EDA's ARPA website very soon. And like some of our other resources, as we continue to get more questions or insights from our customers, we will update them as necessary. So look to our website and social media for regular updates. With that said, we're ready to get to the important parts for today. And my colleague, our Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy, Michelle Chang, will share a little bit about EDA's mission and get us going on this awesome Build Back Better Regional Challenge. Michelle.
Great. Thanks so much, Craig. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We are excited today to dive into the Build Back Better Regional Challenge more. But before doing that, just want to give you all a quick background on the Economic Development Administration. For those who aren't familiar, EDA's mission is to lead the federal economic development agenda by promoting innovation and competitiveness and preparing American regions for growth and success in the worldwide economy. We do this by increasing America's global economic competitiveness, supporting community-led economic development, and helping communities develop resilient and agile local economies. As you all know, we have a historic $3 billion that we received in the American Rescue Plan Act that we are using to invest in America's communities. This is a historic investment that really is designed to support bottom-up economic development by focusing on advancing equity, creating good-paying jobs, and helping our workers to get the in-demand skills they need to land quality jobs. We also are looking to build economic resilience and accelerate the economic recovery for industries and communities that were hit hardest by the coronavirus pandemic. We are aiming to use these funds to really support the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to build America back better and stronger. Next slide. As you know, for those that joined our EDA 101 last week, we are using this $3 billion to do three major things. Invest in jobs for today, communities built for all, and regions for the future. As you know, there are 6 Notice of Funding Opportunities, or NOFOs, that go along with these 6 programs, along with the coal communities commitment that we have made. Today, we're going to focus on the Build Back Better Regional Challenge, but if you are interested in any of our other programs, we are having specific webinars on each of these programs this week and next. So please visit our website, as Craig mentioned, eda.gov/ARPA for information on those webinars. Next slide. Great. On the Build Back Better Challenge, we're really excited about this program. As you may have heard, it is our biggest program in terms of dollar amount. We are putting $1 billion to transform economically distressed communities through substantial investment in regional growth clusters. So for these funds, we're really looking to support regional growth clusters, and this is funding things like infrastructure, workforce development, entrepreneurship, planning, and more to really grow a regional industry or industries. We really do encourage regions to go big and think boldly on this. We really encourage you to seek your moonshot strategies to think about how you can really transform your economies. To really think about building more inclusive, dynamic regional economies for the future through the strategies that you put together for this program. As we mentioned last week, we are putting $100 million of this $1 billion towards coal communities in particular, and that will go towards our overall $300 million coal community commitment. Next slide. In terms of eligible applicants, the entities that are eligible to apply for the Build Back Regional Challenge are similar to EDA's traditional eligible applicants. The list is listed here, and I'll go through each of those, but they are also available on our website if you'd like to take a look. So eligible lead institutions or regional coalition members can include district organizations of an EDA designated economic development district or EDD, an Indian tribe or consortium of Indian tribes, state, county, city, or other political subdivision of a state. That can include a special purpose unit of a state or local government engaged in economic or infrastructure development activities, or a consortium of political subdivision. Institutions of higher education or consortia of institutions of higher education can also apply, or public or private nonprofit organizations or association acting in cooperation with officials of a political subdivision of a state. Please do note that EDA is not authorized to provide direct financial assistance to individuals, small businesses, or for-profit entities for this challenge or any of our challenges. The other thing to note is that applicants must show alignment with their local CEDS or comprehensive economic development strategy for every region that they're going to serve. Great, next slide. The real intent of this program, and really it is a historic program for us, to really think about transforming regional economies. This is really the chance for you all to think about those big, bold ideas that you've been wanting to do in your region and maybe just haven't had the funding or the resources to do it. We are really dedicating a significant amount of money to regions to think about putting those bold ideas into action. So the program intent is to transform regional economies and supercharge business and regional growth clusters through a collection of collaborative, aligned projects designed to grow new industries or scale existing ones. So what is really a regional growth cluster? We are looking for several entities working together to grow a regional economy through the growth of existing or a creation of a new regional industry. And grants, like we mentioned, can support various types of activities. The ones that we've listed here are not the only things, but to give you an idea of what we can fund, we can fund workforce. So thinking about starting or growing a workforce development program to support the needs of that regional growth cluster, that is something that we can support through this challenge. Also, entrepreneurship. We want to support entrepreneurs to commercialize technologies for industries of the future, as well as planning. So things that you all might need to help create or scale visionary goals, partnerships, or plans for the future. We can fund planning activities through this challenge, as well as the all-important infrastructure. So building the roads, grids, fiber, and bricks that will enable all the communities in this cluster to thrive. I'm going to talk a little more about what those clusters may look like, and then I'm going to throw this back to my colleague Craig, who will dive a bit more into the process of the Build Back Better Regional Challenge. But like we mentioned, this is really intended to really help economically distressed communities through substantial investments. We have mentioned before, we are looking to fund these regions anywhere from $25 to up to $100 million. So it's a significant amount of money that can go towards a region. What you see on this page on the right-hand side are some examples of what a regional cluster may look like. These are not prescriptive, they're more really illustrative examples of what it may look like. We're looking for proposals that include regional coalitions, industry support, and high impact projects with a shared vision for regional growth, for the regional growth cluster. There should be one key coordinating entity per region, but at the end of the day, there could be up to 3 to 8 projects per regional cluster. So for example, you could have a manufacturing cluster in a major city that is also encompassing a capital city and another major city, a university town, and a major industrial town, all working together to help support the growing manufacturer industry in their region. You could have on the top right-hand side a service cluster that has a university town as well as a community, a capital city, a mid-sized coastal town, and a major city working together to service their service industry. Or an ag tech cluster that includes a transportation hub and rural communities in a mid-sized town. These are some examples of what a regional cluster may look like, but certainly we want you to tell us what is working in your region, what are the high growth industries that you are really looking to supercharge, and how can we best support you through the funds that we have to be able to help you do that. So I'm going to turn this back to Craig. He's going to walk through some of the details of the different phases that we have through this program and how you can get your applications ready for that. I think you're on mute, Craig.
Quick sound check. Michelle, are you able to hear me?
I can.
All right, great. Thanks so much, Michelle. I'm going to pause on this slide for a second because as the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Regional Affairs, probably the most frequently asked question that I get is, Craig, how does EDA define a region? Well, for the case of this program and most of our other programs as well, we look at a variety of considerations such as MSA, workforce, commuter market space, supply chains, and actual physical bounds, whether it's state or county lines. But when considering a region, you look at all of these ingredients to determine the connectiveness and the viability of an industry's cluster's potential. I would really encourage you all to check out clustermapping.us, which is managed by the Harvard School's Office of Strategy and Competitiveness, led by Michael Porter. EDA, in partnership with Harvard and Michael Porter's team, helped stand up clustermapping.us to do some fantastic research, data, and analysis into the U.S. Cluster industry or the cluster concentration across America. And it looks at all these factors: labor market, industry concentration, GDP, productivity, supply chain, and much more. And ultimately, what I'm getting at is, I hope between the manufacturing cluster example, the ag tech cluster, the services cluster example here, you're inspired with some flexibility and utility that meets the needs of your respective regions. There really is no secret sauce or exact mileage coverage here other than what is competitive and meaningful for your region. So, and recognizing that every different region has different needs, we've designed this program in 2 phases. Phase 1, we will be assessing regions for concepts, potential, and capacity, and we'll be awarding technical assistance grants to help those regions mature projects but maybe most importantly, mature their industries, clusters, and collaboration. Working towards phase two, where we will receive applications on March 15th, 2022. And later in the summer of 2022, we'll be making implementation grant awards to 20 to 30 regions across the nation. What I want folks to think about here is that phase two is a readiness effort. We want communities to come together to build the partnerships, to start honing their plans, maturing their resources, their strategies. And phase two is really when we need to get delivered the proposals, the specific proposals that have the details worked out, matching resources lined up, and much more. But I hope this helps folks respond to this bold proposal or this bold competition in a timely manner and gives them the flexibility and the resources to do so. Phase one, we've kicked things off already. We are in phase one of this effort, where the notice of funding opportunity has been posted. We keep getting questions about when can I apply? Folks, you can apply right now. You can go to grants.gov and access this portfolio and apply now. Applications will be open until October 19th, and later in the winter, we will be selecting 50 to 60 regional clusters for technical assistance grants. These grants, up to $500,000, should be viewed as tools accelerate a region's readiness, to accelerate their capacity, their strategy, and most importantly, the boldness and hopefully the boldness of their impacts. But we don't want these resources to fall short or stop their impacts at the end of the phase one technical assistance effort. We do hope that, as I mentioned, we get applications ready for submission by March of next year. But in doing this and unlocking this important technical assistance capital, we hope that regions have increased ability to build coalitions and strategies that are more inclusive, impactful, and collaborative for the whole of the region. We also hope these resources, this $500,000 in technical assistance, will help communities identify and hire a regional economic competitiveness officer, someone who can work across the members of the coalition, members of the regional growth cluster to coordinate, strategize, and align resources. But maybe most importantly and more transformational is to serve as a liaison between other regions, between the region and EDA, and between the region and other federal agencies. We know that the Build Back Better plan is just beginning, and agencies across the Biden-Harris administration are very active in economic development in a variety of ways. This regional economic competitiveness officer will unlock a soft infrastructure of experts and leaders across our regions, 50 to 60 of them all at once, that I hope will increase the collaboration and knowledge sharing across our economies. This leads me to my last point here, where we hope that this technical assistance effort, $500,000 in resources to 50 to 60 communities across the nation, can create some long-term infrastructure where we're not just helping people and communities participate in this grant program, but we're changing the way we think about regional economic development, professionalizing it, and moving our regions forward together as one industry of experts working to collaborate and move together in this effort as we migrate into a more technology-driven, innovation-centric economic development industry. And we get to phase two. So the next phase here is really about finalizing proposals to submit by March 15th, 2022. Regions should, as Michelle mentioned earlier, identify 3 to 8 competitive proposals that will transform their regions. Like I've said that a bunch today, or more simply put, support that regional moonshot, bringing that ag tech cluster forward or clean technology cluster forward all at once. These projects do not need to support a single industry. Michelle mentioned that earlier. They may be collectively supporting a concentration of complementary industries. But as a whole, they should sum to between $25 to $75 million, supporting a clear, aligned vision across different projects, all at once, bringing an unprecedented amount of resources and momentum. Those projects across those 3 to 8 in each cluster, they can look very different. It could be a very different combination. In some regions, it may look like 3 to 4 similar projects. In others, where there's greater amount of activity or momentum already, maybe it's a total of 8. But there is no single answer to what types of projects other than what is most responsive to the needs and the stage of economic development in your respective region, and how can one build the most impactful strategy across the menu of proposed projects. A couple examples of elements that we hope regions think about. Emphasizing examples. This is not an exhaustive list. This is pulled straight from the notice of funding, folks. So the entire list of criterias that we will look to evaluate proposals for can be found there. But first and foremost are assets or the potential for assets. What is on the ground today? Who, the industry, academia, research capacity, and what types of infrastructure, natural resources, and assets are there that can be leveraged to build upon this type of effort. Leadership by industry. We want to be supporting industry-driven solutions. We want to be supporting workforce development that our business sector and industry leaders need. We want to support the development of infrastructure that our businesses and industry lead. We want to support the strategic planning that our industry and businesses lead, and so on and so forth. So taking an industry-led approach here is really critical, not just for the viability of the strategy, but also the sustainability. We want to know that in 3, 4, 5, 6 years from now, when the federal programming has sunsetted, projects have closed out, there are real leaders on the ground that can take the momentum and carry the torch to ensure these plans, these visions are sustainable and impactful for the long run. And last, but most importantly, is that if we're developing true solutions, strategies, and resources that are impactful for the region, they should be impactful for everyone within that region. So thinking about strategies across those 3 to 8 projects, how can regions incorporate our underserved communities from the very beginning? How can we design these to be more inclusive and equitable so that every citizen can benefit from that local economy? Overall, we're going to do this starting the first major milestone is quickly approaching already, October 19th, 2020. Phase 1 applications are due. EDA intends to identify and award Phase 1 awardees sometime in December, which will then get folks going quickly to finalize and improve proposals for Phase 2, deadline of March 15th, 2022. Under ARPA, all of our programming must be obligated and awarded by September 30th, 2022, next fall, and all programs must have no greater than a 5-year performance period. For projects that are doing soft work such as planning or program management, many of those performance periods will be much less, at 2 or 3 years perhaps. The details are in the NOFOs. But because of this October 19th deadline, and because of the importance to get going and build those partnerships and those strategies now, I can't emphasize enough. Please, folks, I highly encourage you to read, review, and get to know the Notice of Funding Opportunity. This is just a conversation starter. The details, the design of all of the components, the evaluation criteria, and much more can be found in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. When you have familiarity with the program and you have some specific questions for EDA, we encourage you to reach out to your local economic development representative. Those contacts can be found on our website and the Notice of Funding Opportunity, and we will also be regularly monitoring the Build Back Better Regional Challenge inbox for general inquiries. But when you're ready to have a specific conversation about your specific state or territory, we highly encourage you to reach out to your economic development representative. Also, our directory of economic development districts can be found in our website as well. And they are, if you have not connected to your district, highly encourage you to do so. They are real experts and conveners on the ground, nearly 400 of them now across the nation, representing the best practices and knowledge base of economic development across the nation. But hopefully now to the main part of the show is some helpful questions that will get folks reflecting on the points we just shared, as well as some maybe strategic recommendations around how to move forward next. I've asked Michelle to join me in support in this Q&A, but also a couple other important colleagues, Shelby Wenner, our Program Operations Coordinator, and Chris Anderson, our Deputy Chief Counsel here at EDA. Shelby, Chris, and Michelle, thanks for your insights on this. Chris, as our resident legal expert, I'd like to throw this first one towards you. Does EDA have a preference on what type of entity should lead a coalition's effort on the application process for Phase 1?
Thanks, Craig. No, EDA does not have a preference on the type of entity. We recognize that the regions that are going to be applying for this funding are very diverse, and we encourage those regions select the organization, the lead entity going to be most effective for their program. The only restriction is the lead entity has to be one of EDA's eligible grantee types. And once again, those organizational types are states, cities, counties, and other units of state or local government, tribes, institutions of higher education, nonprofits, and the district organization of an EDA designated economic development district.
Yeah, I think that's very representative of our regional economies themselves, where the teams that are working to support a manufacturing cluster in the Rust Belt may be very different than the types of teams of experts working to support a clean technology cluster in the Northeast along a major seaport, for example. We want to be, and we have designed this to be as responsive to regional needs as possible, and encourage folks to view that as in a way that allows them to put their best foot forward in this challenge. Shelby, I'd love your help with this next one. Can my organization support proposals to this program, submit proposals to this program and another EDA program at the same time?
Sure, thanks, Craig. So while your organization can certainly submit different project proposals to this program, Build Back Better, and other EDA programs, we really do emphasize, please only submit each unique project application to one program.
And I also want to take a moment to emphasize that proposals aren't a light lift. So we do want you to maximize those efforts on the programs and the proposals that you think are going to be most transformational and impactful based upon your needs. So maybe another way of saying quality over quantity might be best in this case. Michelle, number 3 here, can proposed projects support multiple industries?
Thanks, Craig. Yes, as we mentioned in this presentation, projects for the Build Back Better Challenge can support multiple industries. We do urge you, though, to make sure that these are industries that are growing, that are strong in your community, and that you believe that there is the appropriate assets in your community to support them.
Yeah. Thinking about ways how artificial intelligence may impact our workforce and how it may impact our manufacturing or the needs for new and different manufacturing infrastructure. EDA recognizes that in many cases, it is a concentration of different industries that support the growth of a cluster's overall direction. So yes, I couldn't agree more. Well said, Michelle. And on that note, back to the regional piece, I'll take this last one here. How large should my regional growth cluster be, and how much funding should we pursue? I think I hit this pretty well earlier in the presentation, but I'll circle back on the same points. The ingredients that drive regional growth vary region by region and industry by industry. And EDA fully recognizes that some proposals in certain areas may be more geographically bound, tighter bound, concentrated in a smaller area, while other regions may be broader, may be entirely statewide, or in some cases where a concentration of neighboring states share resources and industry, it may be a multi-state effort. Why I'm excited about this program is because these resources, both the overall pot of funding, this $1 billion, but also the $500,000 in technical assistance, gives communities an opportunity to cut through, break through artificial boundaries like MSAs or state lines or county lines, or maybe sometimes industry and academia, and plan and build outside where one might normally be confined to. And yes, that includes demographically as well, building outside those that have traditionally benefited from economic growth and making sure we're building inclusive regional strategies. So to do that, the second half of this question here, how much funding should we pursue? I think that is very much driven by the first part. How many projects, what types of projects does your region need? We have set a very broad range, approximately $25 to $75 million in total funding per region. We hope that you take that to heart and think about what your community needs the most and what's going to be most transformational. And lastly, on this note, I want to take a moment to pause and say the merits of a proposal will not be driven by the size of the request. So proposals that are $60 or $75 million are not necessarily going to be viewed as more competitive or favored to those on the lower end. We are looking inwardly towards the impacts, the needs, and the strategies of those regions to better understand our ROI on these investments. So please don't think that larger projects necessarily means more competitive. We're excited to make a full range of investments across all 50 states and all corners of the nation here. All right, a couple more questions. Michelle, can we propose multiple similar projects, such as 2 infrastructure projects and 3 types of entrepreneurship projects?
Yes, under the Build Back Better Regional Challenge for one region, yes, you can have multiple infrastructure projects as well as multiple entrepreneurship or workforce development or planning. You tell us what you all need. We really want to hear what you need to make this work in your region. So if you believe there's going to be a big infrastructure project that you need along with a smaller one or even 2 big ones, that is all fair game under here. We expect about 3 to 8 of these type of projects under one region's proposal.
Very similar note, Shelby, can organizations lead multiple projects within a regional growth cluster?
Sure, thanks, Craig. So to follow what Michelle described, a single organization might be best suited to lead more than one infrastructure project or more than one of those innovation projects that are included in that regional growth cluster. So as long as the organization is an eligible entity for EDA funding and works with the lead entity for coordination, it can lead more than one project. If you have 8 projects that are proposed within a Build Back Better regional project, you don't need 8 organizations running them.
A rising theme here is I hope folks see that they can approach this in a way and with the leaders and with the organizations that are best suited for the needs of their community and the needs of their industry. Chris, talk to us a little bit about the Phase 1 Technical Assistance Grant. What activities could my organization do with that up to $500,000 TA assistance?
So that funding can be used for a variety of different things. Perhaps most immediately, it can be used for the preparation of application materials for Phase 2. That includes not just the Phase 2 proposals, but also preliminary engineering or environmental studies that are necessary to complete those applications. It can also be used to fund the salary of a regional economic competitiveness officer to help coordinate the effort of the cluster and to help drive the project forward. It can be used for outreach and networking to build out the equity aspects of the project to make sure that all of the communities in a region are participating in project development and stand to benefit from the project should it be funded at phase 2. And the money can also be used for a variety of other activities that are going to strengthen and deepen the incipient cluster, to develop those networks, build those relationships, so that that work can carry forward into phase 2, or even if the project's not selected at phase 2, into other future funding opportunities.
Thanks, Chris. And you mentioned it in your answer, the Regional Economic Competitiveness Officer. And some teams might be wondering, what exactly is this? Well, this is a new role that builds upon a number of roles, practices, and strategies that we're seeing trends in all of our communities lately, which is that of a convening entity or entities that are working to drive transformational regional economic development across industry and area. This is the benefit of this opportunity, though, is that we have an unprecedented opportunity to award 50 to 60 organizations with technical assistance awards and designate 50 to 60 regional economic competitiveness officers to collaborate together, to share practices, and to learn from one another as we work on this huge challenge and opportunity together. So I look at this regional economic competitiveness officer as one of many foundational investments that EDA is making across our ARPA programming, across the $3 billion, that's going to help us today, but for many years in the future, as things are moving at such a fast pace now. We just need to stay commutative, we need to stay collaborative and in communication to do this work right. That's it for some of the early curated questions. I know a lot came in during the chat and during this event. I got a couple technical ones that I'd like to throw back at our lawyer. Chris, I think I saw some stuff around 501c6s, which are not necessarily viewed as 501c3s. How does EDA view the eligibility of a 501c6 organization?
So generally speaking, 501c6 organizations are eligible for EDA funding. 501c6 organizations are quite diverse, though, so we do look just to make sure that the types of activities that the organization proposes to undertake are consistent with EDA's economic development mission, and that the organization is engaged in community economic development and not necessarily economic development for a highly limited number of actors.
Thanks, Chris. And similar kind of eligibility or coordination question, are we required to have a CEDS or a CEDS equivalent?
Yes, under the Public Works and Economic Development Act, all EDA-funded projects must be consistent either with an EDA-approved CEDS or an EDA-approved CEDS equivalent planning document. Potential applicants can work with their local economic development districts to identify whether there's a CEDS for their region and to access that document. And if there is not an economic development district serving your region, you can reach out to your economic development representative for your state, who can give you some direction on possibilities for alternative strategy documents that might serve that role.
Thanks, Chris. I did see a couple folks ask about eligibility in phase 1 to phase 2. In this instance, not necessarily about organizational eligibility, but are to be eligible to submit proposals in phase 2 of the Build Back Better Challenge, must one participate in phase 1? And the answer is short, yes. So to be eligible to submit implementation projects for phase 2, communities must participate in phase 1. So you must submit a concept strategy in phase 1 by October 19th to be eligible to submit for phase 2. If that is you have a resource challenge or timing competition with your own organization's operations, I would just like to remind folks that EDA is supporting 5 other notices of funding opportunities across this ARPA programming, and quite a lot of resources there, with nearly $2 billion in resources available in other programs. So if the timing for this one doesn't work out, I'd highly encourage you to check out some of the other programs, and specifically the Economic Adjustment and Assistance Program, which we have $500 million available, and is most likely our most flexible, suitable program for programming writ large. All right, I think that runs through the big themes that we saw today. And at this time, I would just like to close with folks to get started. The Notice of Funding opportunity, again, is live and available. We'll be regularly updating helpful support materials like our frequently asked questions, these presentations, and starting with more presentations tomorrow. I think we'll be doing our travel and tourism program tomorrow afternoon, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And once you have some specific questions on your project, your region, your area, please reach out to your Economic Development Representative, or EDR. Contact information can be found on our website, and also more general questions about the Build Back Better regional challenge can be pushed to the Build Back Better at EDA.gov inbox, and our team will answer them as quickly and as best we can. We thank you so much for participating in today's webinar. We're really looking forward to collaborating and transforming 50 to 60 regions across the nation. Thanks so much for your interest and time. We'll see you next time. Bye, folks.